You have the big guys here today. Trudy is in the back. She is our paid liaison. She may have come out to your place, may not. I don't know exactly where else she's been, but she is the one that usually will go out and make most of the visits. I am supposed to come out and haven't, and that's me being a dumb nut, okay? And then you've got the big guy right here. Believe it or not, Brandon Kowalas is the guy that has told you you are all unacceptable, or whatever word he used. So if you want to kill anyone, he's the guy to kill right there. Yeah. It got a lot of response. Whatever word you used, yeah, it worked out pretty well. I want to start first of all with questions from you. For me, Trudy, and Brandon, because I want to make sure your questions get answered. And it may say a little bit later we'll cover that, and that's fine, but I'm going to write them down because I don't like to miss anybody's questions. So, throw questions at me, one at a time, slowly. Yes?
What textbooks?
Textbook, okay. We'll get there. What else? Credit/contact, okay? We can cover that for sure, okay? What else? That's it?
There's questions, I just don't know what they are yet.
Okay, fair enough. When you have them, let me know. My green marker will be my question marker. You have something, you got your pen up, pencil.
Project specifics.
Ah, good. What do you mean by that?
So, David says we have pathways. Well, it's 1, 2, 3 now.
Okay.
We can only offer CE and 2 and 3,
Okay.
not 1.
Okay.
Yep, that's usually the way it is. Right.
Is that a fair way to write it? Okay. What else?
I downloaded all the information, right?
Okay. James?
See anything out of the ordinance.
All has changed this year, so I don't know.
It's quite a bit different. I have a story to tell so you all understand what happened.
It's necessary skill, like what skills are the students expected to have when they
Good.
So Grant has got a new 4-letter word, it's called PBL, and for us to do the grading, you can't do it. Like, it's just kind of,
If it's a granite thing, I can't answer that. I can answer ours.
we have to grade according to what they need us grading at. So
it's old school.
And if it's a split class, you have to grade everybody in the class.
Oh, cool.
we're excited that we don't have to do this
We hate
moronic grading system.
I do
Oh, in the granite thing?
So I want one concerned person in every class. That's my plan.
Water them down as best you can, right? Okay. Any other questions? Nothing yet? Yes.
Is there such thing as having a pure class?
Pure, like all concurrent? That is 100% up to you. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
I understand there are two different class options in the classes, and is that correct?
Correct.
Personal project, and then there's the other.
Not personal projects at the moment, okay? There's the woodworking one and cabinet one.
Okay.
And we're going to cover each one of those as we're here, and we're going to talk a little more than that too, okay? Personal projects was something, and that'll come in the story. Let me just leave it at that for now, okay? Any other questions before we start?
Brandon? Yeah, we're, we sent out the email about signing our teacher agreement or whatever, course agreement. I went on there to sign, there was nothing there
that should have been there like right when you logged in. But for I got a lot of instructors reached out to me and said, it's not there, just ignore it for now, so don't worry about it.
Anything else to throw at Brandon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how long until Canvas Access is available to the new people?
Oh, yeah, that has been like a big frustration. We can survey our partners every year just to find out what's working, what's not working, what concerns they have, and it's almost consistently computer system related. And one of the problems that IT kind of hasn't changed like in the last year and a half, but Agile faculty here on our campus and current enrollment instructors don't have access to CSLCC systems until a certain number of weeks. I think it's like 5 weeks before the first day of the semester, and then it's like 8 weeks after the semester ends. So if you're new or you haven't taught a class, if you teach right now, like spring semester or a year-long class, you theoretically should have access for another few weeks. But if you're new, you're not going to have access to Canvas or MySLCC until a few weeks before the first day of fall semester. So
Canvas is the only one I didn't know.
okay, yeah, MyCE is separate, so that you can access anytime.
The follow-up question for Chat is the Canvas courses you use here on Canvas, is available to us to look at those stuff from the
I am supposed to take some Canvas training. I use Canvas, I would say 30%. I use it all the time, don't get me wrong, but what it can do and what I know about, I might know 30%. What I want to be able to do is to create a ghost class for my Cabinet 1 and for my Cabinet 2 and for my software and my math. Those are the 4 that I teach, and have that sit there so that when I start a new semester, I grab that ghost class and plop it. Because sidebox? Oh, sandbox. What?
Technical term, that's what they said. They generally said the sandbox for all
I
of us.
don't know, in all the training, Brandon called them development courses.
Yeah, that's what they call them here.
Anyway, I don't have a great answer yet, but those will be questions I will throw in when I go to my training. Is Canvas to see, I've been playing the word game thing, and it doesn't help my brain, to see instructors.
One thing that you can do, Chad, is that you can, even though they don't have access, you can export your course content into a file. You can give the file to them, and they can import it into their high school sandboxes.
Will I send that out via email?
Yeah, well, not a big file.
It's a pretty small file.
If it's a pretty small file, it depends on what's in your course. Probably be a small file if you haven't been using a lot of Canvas. It's a big file. You just talk to me and we'll figure out a way to transfer it.
Okay.
So, yeah. And I guess Trudy can probably help you.
Yeah, I can help you with that. If your campus website, when you get that up, we just have to contact Mary Ann Ty of the school, and she can send them invites, and they can all get into it that way.
Okay.
Well, the only problem is that they can't access it until a few
Yeah,
weeks
that's
before
true,
the
they
semester,
can't.
which is stupid. but,
They can't access it for a while.
I got another
Okay.
question while I'm thinking about it. How hard is it to get an exception to teach more than 2 unique classes at a time?
That's not hard. It's up to the academic department. So if you wanted to teach like CSBT 12 maybe one other.
I already teach 3 right now, just 2 of them are semester, so one's for first semester, one's second semester.
Yeah, that's-
This is a year long. No, because I teach business also. So.
Okay.
And our other MBA left, like, table for
It's not that hard. If you wanted to teach, because yeah, we sort of limited that, but we haven't really enforced it a lot. It's up to the department. We just don't want you to be overwhelmed with like having 8 preps, and you have to like, cover all this college.
Well, when I want to add the second Woods concurrent class, when I want to do both, if they're still having even the business one, but we'll still have more than one.
Yeah, Chad's fine with it. Real good.
All right, any other questions? I'm going to take roll at this point so I can mark who is here. They'll get your papers as well, but what's going to happen is this videoing they're doing, we're going to be able to send it out to those who couldn't be here. And most that replied had a good reason, and one was a snot. But you know, that's always the case on that particular individual. But so let's say Jeremiah Allen is not here, correct? Okay. Gordon Anderson, you were the one that said maybe, but you made it. Welcome. Thank you. What was the maybe about?
5 letters.
For what?
5 letters,
I don't understand what you're saying, but
maybe 5 letters.
oh, I'm with you. Jason. Good to meet you, Jason. Quinn. How you doing? Did you get our concrete all done? Not yet? One more pour. Okay. Okay, good. Elena Hales is not here. James Lewis is here. How are you doing, James? Good. Well, good. Happy to meet you again.
Just smiling like normal.
Paul. And you're at Granger. Okay. Jeremy. Welcome. Have I met you before? No. Okay. You are at what? Oh, you're at Bingham. That's right. I talked to you earlier. No Stephen Nias. Mark.
Oh, that's me.
You're Mark.
I go by Tim.
Tim. Okay. I think I saw that, but I only printed out what the enrollment had.
I have to put my first name right over his.
Well, there you go. And then Stephen. Welcome. Anybody I did not call? I think everybody raised their hand. Perfect. That's everyone we were hoping to get. We had a couple that didn't answer back, but that's how that played out. Let me tell you a little bit about myself real quick. I graduated from here with 2 degrees, the AS and the AAS degree. If you don't know the difference on those, the AAS is the hands-on portion, and the AS is the management portion. And then after that, I came here because I kept winning stupid old Skills USA, and they kept providing me scholarships. So I came here and did a lot of personal stuff for fun and extra classes I needed to go down to UVSC. And so I graduated from UVSC in 2002. The unique thing about that is many of you should all remember the 9/11 incident that happened. And I was geared up to do my internship and to go work for Layton Construction when I was all done. And I called Dave Layton. He was my neighbor. I came from a wealthy area, even though we were poor. They all moved in around us. And Dave says, I would love to have you, but I have our regular employees in closets because that 9/11 thing has frozen everything, but I can't have you. So I had to go do another project to finish off my semester. And when I got done, I heard rumor that my teacher here that I knew for 6 years was retiring. And I thought, what the heck? I'll see. I had put myself through college doing self-employed cabinet making and all of that. And by a miracle, I got this job. So this has been my 20th year here, okay? I will say that I've learned far more as a teacher than I ever knew before, okay? When you have to figure out how to explain it to people, you have to learn it better. I have changed the way I build cabinets at least 20 times. And that is because I have to learn easier, faster, safer. We get new equipment, things have to change. And so the thing I want to say about that is I am not a stubborn old sucker that won't change. I will change every day, okay? We went to Fashion Cabinets a couple of years ago. And I was watching their guys plopping drawer fronts on at miracle speeds to the drawer box. I'm like, how is that working? It's like, we just took the side overlay and the bottom overlay, and they plop the drawer fronts in, and they pull the drawer to it and bind it down and send it down the road. And I'm like, frickin' 18 years ago, that would have been cool to know, right? Just stuff like that. So I'm a very observant person. I've been to most of your facilities. I haven't been to James, even though I've known him for almost 20 years. It's just weird. I was hot and heavy on it for a long time, and then I had a brain tumor, cancerous brain tumor the size of a fist, and I haven't gone out since. And nothing to do with that other than they can deal with it, because Trudy came along and I didn't want to do it anymore. But here I am teaching you guys a little bit about what has happened over the last couple of years. Just to wrap me out, I am married. I have 3 kids. My oldest is Jacob. He's at Brighton High School. He's got Down syndrome, and on Monday had both of his ears had surgery on. So he's been our hospital boy. Every time he goes, he's not very happy about it. My next is almost 12. Her name is Marin, and she is at Butler Middle School. And my youngest is 8. His name is Logan, and he is at Bella Vista Elementary. So that is me and my family. My family is the most important thing to me. And a quick story just about when I had my brain tumor. Had a boss that was working me to death. Glad he left. And you all know that. Supervisors can make your life good or bad. But that was the year I had my tumor as well. And I got out of all of that miracle fast, miracle that I'm alive, all of that, just fist-sized tumor right here. They said you really shouldn't be alive based on that. I go home and it hit me like a rock. I am here for my kids. I got awesome life insurance. My wife would be richer than she is now, but my kids don't care about that. They need their dad. And so my family is my priority. So a couple of things I want to go over is let's start talking about the Beginning Woods class, okay? That's what most of you are currently offering. This is a brand new, I just finished it up today, version of our syllabus. So this is not one you will find yet.
When I downloaded it,
It is not the one you downloaded, but it is got the college logo on it. Wow, right? Yeah. I had to go into my construction math class and do a 5-year review on that. And I looked at what had been done, and nothing had been done in like 12 years. And so I went around to people and said, hey, bring me up to speed, because all I have is archaic stuff. And they did. And so this is kind of what I created for that. And then I've modified it to fit this class and my cabinet class, which I'll give you in just a minute. It's pretty well the same information that you've had on the other one. Just a nice format that you guys, if you wanted, could put your info in here and use it. There are some things you may want to go add or eliminate. I know you guys are under state requirements. I don't know your state requirements. If someone would send them to me, that would be cool. I'm assuming we're all doing about the same thing. But let me go over one thing real quick that happened, and this is what you guys started asking me about, is why can't we do personal projects anymore? Okay? We got contacted by your best friend, Doug Livingston. I know all of you just want to give him a big hug. But as harsh as it was for you guys to be told you're doing it wrong and you're going to change and all of that, his concept is correct. For us here, I don't train crafty people. I'm training them for a job. So if you're going to do concurrent enrollment, those students ought to be trained to think about this as a career. And he says personal projects is not a career choice. So he was the one that terminated that. With a little bit of my resistance, though, because you guys are saying, wait a minute, these other classes are 4 credit hours. It requires a whole year student or a double. They used to allow 2 in a row for half a semester. I don't know what is available to you guys now. And that can't always happen. So that was the thing. I wanted you guys to be able to offer something for a 1 semester person. But Doug said no. And he ran the state, and I can't argue with that. He's not there anymore. And I haven't decided if I want to go up the chain and try and alter those decisions yet or not. I would like to meet who has taken his place and buddy up a little bit and see what his opinions are. Here's his or her. I don't know. Him? Okay, thank you.
You may have met him.
Oh, I get,
He was,
yeah, I get messages from him. Okay. I'm going to write that down right here because if it can happen, I would like to put it back on for you guys. Colton Williams, thank you. Okay. All right. If you look through this, there's the question that is asked about the textbook. That was the first question. I've got 2 versions of this woodworking textbook, okay? To me, it doesn't matter which version they use, because I've gone through them and there is very little, if any, differences. But when they set the first one out, it became almost extinct. So I just tell my guys, look, this is what I want you to have. And the reason is, I am an anti-text teacher. I hate textbooks. Because in our fields, it depends on where you are as to how you build your home. Has anybody lived down in Louisiana? No. You don't build homes with a foundation. You build homes up on piers because the water comes in and out. Totally different world depending on where you're at. So textbooks have their thing. We're required to put one on our syllabi. When I got into having to follow that requirement, I ordered all the books. So I have the modern cabinetry one. I have the ancient one that I use, which takes you through a world of table saw stuff that's pretty fascinating, but not for career stuff, right? This one was a reader, okay? Do any of you read novels? I didn't think so. Do you read plans? Yeah, if there's a set of blueprints and a book, I'm going to grab the blueprints. That's who I am. This one, I sat down and I read it because it's current. It uses the same products we're using, like Typebond and all of that. This is a great book. Okay, now I want a side note for just a minute. We are going to go through the shop. We're going to show you all the tools we have, which class uses them and why. And the idea is this. If you need this book, I can say it's required. And guess what? Your school will have to get it. If you need a particular tool, I can say it's required. Now, I might send it out to all of you, and then you can send it to all of your people in each district. But it will help you get things that you don't have yet, if you so choose to ask for it. But you need to ask me through email, and I will then send it out. Okay? I need to have a record that you requested information on that tool, and then I can definitely send out the notice. Okay? Good thing for you guys and good thing for me. You guys can get up current. When I came in back in 2002, there was a lot of dark green equipment here. We have almost eliminated all of it, and the stuff that's still here is here because it's great equipment, and we're not going to let it go, right? You'll see a lot of updates. Okay. Any questions on the textbook? I hear they might be coming out with version 3. I don't know for sure. But once again, you guys will get it and you'll have classroom copies. We don't do it that way. Students have to go buy it themselves. So they go online, go to eBay or whatever, and they'll get a $10 copy. And they'll keep it because it's a great book. I love it. Okay. Questions on that? We good? Okay. Safety obviously is a thing that I love. I'm sure every one of you don't ever want to pick up a finger. Attendance and participation. In our world, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this because our world and your world are so different. Your world has parents coming after you, has students coming after you, has admin coming after you. And you guys, I told my wife, we will go under a bridge and live there before I teach public ed. My hat's off to you guys. How many students a day do you deal with? 100. Okay? I deal with 10. We put caps on our classes to keep them small. You guys are forced to take more than you want. My hat's off to you, seriously. If I ever lose this job, I will never go into teaching public ed ever, anywhere in the world. I honor you guys for your ability, your duration, your everything. Yes?
On your attendance, on that first grading piece, 40% attendance, how do you handle, do you have a makeup for attendance?
I don't. Here, and let me finish this whole thing between you and me. If a parent calls me, I can't even confirm their child is in my class because here they're an adult. And we've had some 17-year-old students come, and it was a big question mark. And they said as soon as they step foot on this campus, they are considered as an adult. And unless they sign the paper that the parent can contact, you can't even confirm they're in your class. Now, makeup time, let me answer that one. We talked a little bit about, can we have open shop time? Can we have time after class? And the HR department, risk management, came and says, no. Your hours of shop are your hours of shop. They're paying you to be the teacher, and if they don't come, they miss it. One other thing that I love, I heard you guys saying, so happy to tell the students that I wasn't going to be there, and they were whining about it, right? I just tell them at the first, you come to class or you don't get it. If you don't make it to class, who should you talk to? And they say, oh, you. I'm like, nope. Talk to the ones that take good notes. I taught it once.
That's what I tell my kids.
Yeah.
If they're not there, I don't waste my time giving
You-
class notes again. It's
yeah.
a waste of my time.
Yeah.
My time is in the shop, not in the classroom. I hate classroom time.
My favorite's classroom time, but that's okay. All right. Quizzes, final exams, you guys know how those things go. I do daily quizzes in my cabinet class. I believe that the best teacher in the world is what? What's the best teacher? Nope. Repetition. So I teach it, we demonstrate it, the student does it, and then we quiz them on it. All in cycle. And it's basically how I run my cabinet class, because we start, every day we lecture on what we're going to do. So it's a pretty cool way to do that. So final exam, you guys all know how those things work. There's one thing that I picked stuff up from you guys, okay? Warlow Crane has the cleanest shop I've ever seen in my life, okay? I went in to see him on a Friday, maybe not now, this was years ago. He had people crawled inside the table saws, every other machine, and they were vacuuming them out, okay? Now, I haven't been to your shop yet. I've been to when Kathy, with you there? Oh, well, there you go. But I learned things from you guys. And one of the things I learned was this portfolio that I now do. We have an e-portfolio that they have to do for gen ed classes. So my math class has to do that. But I love a binder portfolio. I have my students do that, and their goal, if they're smart, they're taking pictures of their projects, they're having people take pictures of them on the equipment, as they're gluing, whatever. And they go out and go to get a job. And they keep that binder right there, and the boss says, tell me about what you've done in your life. And they flip the thing over and they slide it over, and the first thing the boss should see is pictures. Yeah, pictures. Don't put your notes up front. Don't put the syllabus up front. Have them in the back. They're part of who you are. But your pictures are what tell the boss what you do. And I've had at least 10 students come back and say, that portfolio got me the job over the other 30. Because there was proof I wasn't lying. Okay? Retail purchases for that woodworking class. Obviously, you guys have these available, safety glasses. I don't wear other people's glasses. My best friend had a herpes virus that grew behind his ear, and I'm never going to get that, so I'm very proponent of that. I did not change the grading at the end. That's my math class grading. So I'll fix that.
Well, you have a grading section on page 2, and then
Yeah, so I'll delete the one at the end.
the one on page 4 is not.
And then the chapters. The chapters and the subject matter in the chapters is what we cover in the Woods 1 class. Yes?
Chad, do you want them to have a common exam?
What? Mine is, in my cabinet class, is freaking aggressive. Because that's an entire course they accomplish in 7.5 weeks. Okay? And the part that busts their chops is they have to provide me a cut list of a cabinet that I give them a drawing of. And it's hard. I hate grading it. It's so much work to grade it. And this is where I have this Canvas versus reality thing. I don't want that test on Canvas because I need to be able to see how close they really were and why. I love it when they show me work and all of that. I'll think about that, whether I want to provide, but you guys have other requirements you have to meet up to as well, outside of what I do. Because I don't have your requirements that the state requires you to do. It's a juggle. So I'll think about it.
State precision exam.
One more time?
They have a state precision exam test that we have to give.
Technically, we
I don't know if they,
can't
they
use
couldn't
that on
know
the
if
grade,
they.
so if we want a final, we need to have it on the final. We can't use precision exams on this grade, so we have
You have to give a final.
In theory, we can.
to know that
Right, in theory, you can't.
they can only improve their grade, you cannot move it further. So if it brings their grade down after doing it, then you can't.
But you can say, like, well,
I did 2 tests on here. I got that one and another one.
you can change one question.
I think it's higher, so.
Steve?
Some of our schools are succumbing to parental social pressure
Can you imagine?
and requiring a fail at 30% instead of 60%.
My failing,
That works.
When you're doing the college concurrent, it's what they.
It has to go here.
Yeah, that's all I can do. It has nothing to do with
long story short, my failing grade used to be 50% or less, and I was told it needs to be on the college scale of 60 or less. On the flip side, if they fail my class, they just wasted hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and I don't feel bad for them. It's their money. It's their choice to come to class or not. It's their choice to take notes or not. And that's where you guys are a little different. You have parents coming in, and you ever been to a sports game with parents there? Heavens no, right? I don't have that issue because it's their money. So if they fail my class, they earned that F. Because if they came half of the time, they only lose 20% of their grade. That's a B minus. Now, they lose other stuff too, but it's hard to fail my class. I have some that do, but that's their fault, not mine. Is that a fair answer?
Oh, it's absolutely perfect, because if it is concurrent, that whole class, whether it's mixed or not, is going to get graded this way.
And they make you do it that way, huh?
Oh, mine not yet. There's other departments that are pushing for that. Is this? I'm like 30%.
My F is 29.9 and below. And I was told to do that because of COVID.
And you know, we were talking.
That's going to stay though, because
With the auto shop teacher, a great example, I said, so 30 is a failure, so B's a pass at, 40%. What if I did 40% of your grade job?
hey, we can go there all day long, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
So when a student signs up for a concurrent enrollment class, that is something they need to know that is part of that is what they're taking on.
Yes,
We grade the same.
because
If they don't show up,
they are one of our students at that point. Period. That's how it works. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Now I'm going to pause. Any questions on the 1220 at this point? I know there's some questions up there I'll get to, but looking at the syllabi, any questions on that besides that extra part I need to remove?
Not necessarily the syllabi, but open lab times, how much, what kids come in,
I can't. Risk management won't let us.
so, what about us?
You can do whatever you want. Yeah. Because you're in your own world with your own rules.
Your students still covered under the high school classes, you didn't do it there. So if you want to do open lab time, you have to be covered.
Yeah. You have no idea, for me, how nice it was when the risk management says, class time only.
What's the major project at the building?
That's a good question. Can I walk you down there in a little bit and show you? I was going to bring them out, and there were so many, because Chris Gochner is the one that's been teaching it. And if you guys don't know Chris, he writes. Oh yeah, he loves it here. He wants to retire though, because his wife's going to retire pretty soon. But he loves it here. And I was out at National Skills, and someone says, "How did you get Chris Gochner to teach for you?" I said, "The weird thing, he taught furniture, and then he wanted to teach woodworking." All right, keep going. So he has raised that bar. Okay, it's not necessarily the bar we're aiming for. I don't think any of you would want to do what he does, because you've got too many hands. But I want to show you some of the projects he does in Woods One. It'll baffle you. It's crazy. Okay?
That dude is crazy, but he's an awesome crazy guy.
He is talking about not doing woods anymore. I can't take it over because my hours are maxed, and I love the cabinet side of things. I'm a production guy. Where woodworking is, I believe, an entry into any field, an entry. I know how to work with wood. I know what joints are. I know how wood expands and contracts. All of that should be woodworking, to understand wood, right? But you look out there at the field, there are residential cabinet makers, there are commercial cabinet makers, there are architectural millwork firms like Fetzer, who doesn't do any cabinet making. They make massive everythings, and it's all different. So there is so much out there. There are designers, there are interior decorator type people that know all of that. It's just such a broad-based thing. So, and then on top of all of that, if I don't ever want to build doors for me, I can order doors from a door shop. And that's all they build, are doors and drawer fronts. So I can pick and choose, and I teach my students this. The equipment, the last 2 weeks is kind of like, you had a good time, you learned a lot, good job. I'm going to scare you out of this business. In order to do production cabinetry, you're $1.2 million in equipment. Period. You can't do production at 4 kitchens a week without it. But then you also have trucks, the building, the rent, the people. The people are your wild card. They're nuts. They don't show up. They don't know how to read a tape measure, whatever it is, right? And it scares them away from it. Because I say you should be doing this without putting a loan against your home. I've seen people lose their homes. That's not good, right? But then we go back the last couple classes and I teach them about outsourcing. Lewis Cabinet up in Tremont. And if you haven't used them, you ought to look into them. It's pretty amazing what they do. We've got door makers, we've got box makers, we've got moldings, we've got everything. And what do I do to get it finished? Well, there's several finishing companies, and that's all they do. It's pretty cool. So we try and help everybody understand how this stuff works, okay? Let's talk really quick about this one. We mentioned personal projects would have been for Woods 1, okay? Doug Livingston said, I don't care what Woods 1 is, because that's what brings them in and lets them try it. So if they want to build a jewelry box, that doesn't matter to me. Well, isn't that what personal projects is? See where I'm coming? But 2 and 3, 2 I think was for cabinet making and 3 was for the woodworking. If it were me, I would have, well, it's not furniture though.
It is an art.
You say it is, but it's woodworking.
That's by state.
It converges though with our 1220. And I think it should be the other way around, but we have to go with.
I thought it was, but
Yeah, I know. Is that Woods 1, 2, and 3 question answered? You guys, whoever asked that, we good? All right. Is the text answered? Okay. Credit versus contact. Let's do that really quick. There are 3 types of courses that we offer. We have technically 4 now, 5. I don't do the other 2, and that's online. I don't do that because you have to be here to learn. But we have lecture, only. We have a lecture lab. And we have a lab only. Okay, those are the types of divisions in classes that we have. Okay, if you have a lecture class that is a 3 credit hour class, so 3 credit hour, it will equal 3 contact hours per week for us on a 15-week schedule. Lecture straight out to contacts. My math class is a lecture only. 3 credits, 2 nights a week, hour and a half per night adds up to 3 contact hours per week. So far so good? Let's jump to lab. If I have a lab class that's 3 credits, it can equal up to I think it's 9 actually, sorry, 9. You can threefold it. If it's a lab only, 3 credits will equal up to 9. And I say up to. You can do less than that, but you can go up to threefold on that. So far so good? That is personal projects, you guys. We don't teach a theory in personal projects. So many of you are saying, but why does it have a prerequisite? Because we don't teach a theory. We don't teach them anything about wood. We don't teach them anything about the tools. They have to take a test and we let them go to work. So for us, it's what they didn't complete later. For you, it's right up front. So I talked to Brandon and I says, look, we don't need a prerequisite for the high schools, because that's your first class. But for us, we don't let them take that class until they've had something else that has that time into it in the lecture portion. Does that kind of make sense? Now, all the classes I teach besides my math class are deemed as a lecture lab. And so is the Woods one, okay? It is where I have some time allowed for in-class lecture and the rest of my time allowed for lab time. If you look up here, this is how I want to describe it though. We have 15 weeks. This is us. In that 15 weeks, we teach what you guys would do across a year because our classes are longer. 2 times a week, 6 hours per day, gives you 12 hours a week, okay? In my cabinet class, it's a half semester class, cabinet 1, and cabinet 2 starts the very next day as cabinet 2 for another 7.5 weeks. 2 times a week for 9.5 hours a day. Yeah, I am dead at the end of that day. But I do a 2-hour lecture for that class. There's so much detail in cabinet making that isn't in anything else. Chris Gochner doesn't love lecture. He loves, let's go to the shop and I'll show you. I need both. Because in cabinet making, it's not just me making up the rules, okay? Who is my boss? Does anybody know who my boss is? Who is my boss?
You're at Slick or as a cabinet maker?
As a cabinet maker.
Customer.
No.
Your wife?
Hardware is my boss. If I don't understand hardware, the metric system, does anybody go, oh? If I had my way, this entire shop would be metric. It makes sense. Fractions are a joke. I've had international students from Germany come and say, you people and your stupid fractions, we don't ever use them. I know.
Yeah, they are stupid.
They are. Do you want to see me on my soapbox for 2 minutes?
Can I help you?
Yeah.
I'll raise you up, dude. I hate.
Why does the U.S. have the worst math statistics? When do my kids get fractions? 2nd and 3rd grade. And they feel so dumb because why would I ever use 11th, 7th, 9th, whatever? Ours are easy because it's halves, half, 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 half. But they throw these odd numbers at them and screw their brains over, and they think I can't do math. And I say, bull crap. You can do math. Flush the stupid fractions out of your brain. But I have to teach it, so I do. But hardware is my boss as a cabinet maker. If I don't follow those rules, I'm in Chris Gochner's land of doing what I want to do. Cabinet making is not that. I'm in the hardware land. Bloom, Salice, Gross, they are my bosses. Okay? Time in theory is what I need to explain that to them. Some people I have to humble. If they come into my class with a Fat Max tape measure, I say, I don't want to see that in here ever again. I want this guy, something small, because the tick marks are actually accurate at a very small amount. So I'm kind of picky like that. But credit and contact makes sense. So here in the lecture lab, if I have a 3 credit hour course, given that these are all the same, right? I can go up to 6 contacts per week. But that can be varied a little bit based on what I'm doing. Okay, that's kind of how it works on my end. I've written a lot of curriculum. We had to switch our entire department from building construction over to CMGT and rewrite everything, and I did it all. It was a pain in the butt. I don't ever want to do that again. But you do what you're told, or go get a different job. So does that make sense on the credit contact? You guys feel okay about that? When I work with you guys independently and I explain why a 2 credit class is a 1 semester for you guys class, that's how it works. Lab only. It has to be that way for us, so you have to kind of comply to that. Okay? Any questions on that before I move forward? Okay. We will go take a tour. Skills, however. Tell me what you guys teach your Woods 2 and 3 classes. What do you teach those students? Joinery, what kind?
Mostly just the basics.
You're saying basics, these are as much as they can handle. Okay.
And the Woods 2 is what industry is using now for
Cabinetry. What about for woodworking or furniture making?
A lot of it's interchangeable, but some furniture can be very specific.
Okay. Do you guys all have a domino machine?
Yep.
Everybody has a domino machine?
Don't use it. Haven't used it in 3 years. I'll take it.
Yeah, right? You want to sell it? I'll take it. Give you
Right now.
I'll give you $100 for it. I don't own a domino machine because I am waiting. Festool owns the patent on that. But there is coming to an expiration here real soon. I don't know, but I see others starting to promote their domino machines. So, the little multi-tool that everyone has now that's so awesome, right? $100. You can get a really but Fane made that. And they were proud of it because, you know, they patented it. They were like $700 to get them from Fane until their thing expired. Now everyone can get one. So, point being, there are so many joinery things that we can talk about. We need to have them know a butt joint and how you take a butt joint and make it better. Nails do something, screws do something, glue does something to help that butt joint. Okay? We need to understand rabbets and dados. where we have to take and cut a groove in the end or the middle, and those can be fairly complex if you want to do a half rabbet, half, a notched in. And we can go on for hours and hours about that, but rabbet and dado type construction. Mortise and tenon, okay? A hole and a tenon that goes in that hole, that mortise. Most of the time that's going to be man-made, but there are now awesome machines that are making mortise and tenons. Right on the board you have. One of the machines I have requested will be parked in the other shop, but where you take two boards, the length you want them, you slide them in on a 45, and it cuts a mortise in one and the 45-degree angle, and a tenon on the other with a 45-degree angle, and they are moldings, like face moldings, so you can have 45-degree angle doors with built-in mortise and tenons. I teach my students about that, even though I don't have it, because Fetzer has one, Granite has one. It's important to understand they're out there, and you'll see them. Dowels are a great way to make a butt joint better. Biscuits. You guys all have a biscuit machine. How many of you think biscuits are the best? Good. Don't raise your hand. Biscuits are a great alignment tool. If you have a good biscuit machine, then you know how to use it. I'm not a fan of biscuits because I think they're too floppy. But that's just me. I teach them about it, though. They need to know. Dovetails, okay? You guys ever have you guys do handmade dovetails?
I don't have the patience to teach that.
Right? I don't either. Chris Gochner loves it. But he has his way that I've never seen before. He's not just whacking away with a chisel after making two cuts. He has this itty bitty little coping saw blade that he goes to the bottom and cuts across, and then he just cleans up. And he can put out his own dovetails almost as fast as I can use our dovetail machine. But he's good at it. It's what he does. But you need to teach him about what a dovetail is. Half-blind dovetails, they're common in drawers, right? So those are the kind of joineries we teach them. What Chris has had them doing is we buy a bunch of poplar, we provide it for them, and they make every joint out of, I don't remember what size we cut manually for them, but they make every joint on these poplar pieces in the matter of like 2 weeks. They do about 3 per class period, and they get them all done. So they can say, yeah, I used a joiner, I used a domino, I used mortise and tenon, I did a dovetail, all of that. So that is one of the things with joinery you need to know, okay? Skills beyond that are assembly. What type of glues? Do you use melamine glue on lumber? Well, we've done some tests, and it's actually pretty dang good if you're using Titebond melamine. There is a difference between Titebond and Rue glue. Learn that. Rue glue is a lot like a silicone bond, and Titebond actually bites that melamine and will rip it off. It's pretty impressive stuff. So, sanding, okay? Over here, how many of you, is sanding your favorite? Doesn't bother you? Can I hire you to sand for me? $7 an hour, dude. You have to, though. There's a have to. And I tell my students, I think my least favorite thing in the world is sanding. Different sanding papers. I don't use that one unless I'm doing soft for scuffing raised panels and stuff like that, right? Maroon Scotch-Brite. Once again, scuffing, finishing side of things, right? Okay, we get into the sandpapers. So you guys teach them about the type of paper, the A, B, and C weights, the type of grits that are on there. I have my favorites. I love A weight paper. I despise C weight paper and cloth paper unless I'm a wood turner and I want that durability. There's always a reason they make it, right? There's always a plus and a minus to everything. Silicon carbide, aluminum oxide, I believe, on those. And then what is this? Why do I have a white and a maroon Scotch-Brite? White is such that it will not scratch lacquer if it's cured. So when I go out on a cabinet site and I'm filling in my nail holes to put up crown, I use the wax putty. They have a little spatula that you take off the bulk of it, and then I go up there and do this. It takes it off, puts a shine to the wax, but it does not scratch my lacquer. So pretty cool. I learned all of this from a company called Mohawk, okay? Mohawk came in and did a finishing seminar. Please take the time. I remember when we went down to Provo, Mohawk was there at that summer conference. And he did a moment, and then he sat on the side and let people come see what they did. But Mohawk are the one, and Lewis, Worth came out, and they taught us all about how and when to use different types of scuffing, sanding type ideas, okay? This is touch-up and repair kits. You can get those in whatever color you want and provide those to your client when you leave, so it's not your problem anymore.
These wax sticks.
Those ones probably are. We have paint markers, so when we're putting them up and something gets dinged, I can just scuff it, put this paint marker on it, take my finger and wipe it, and then after it's dry, I take a little bit of lacquer thinner and I just go whoosh, and it just makes it look like grain. It's amazing. So we have a container about yay big and about yay tall, all Mohawk touch-up stuff for all the colors. It was pretty cool. It wasn't cheap. It was $1,000, but they are the professionals of touch-up. Look at Mohawk.com. I can't tell you enough. If you're putting it out there, that's important, okay? What else? In the cabinet world, they have to know how to install. Stud finders, how to find a stud, how to know it's a stud, not a plumbing pipe. Those kind of things are fairly important, okay? All the tools, I mean, we talked about just $1.2 million to start a shop. If you're going to install yourself, you're going to be another $15,000 minimum for the tooling, and then a truck, and then a trailer, and a moving truck. I mean, it becomes very expensive very fast, okay? Any questions on skills, the concepts there? Silence is good. I'm on faculty senate. Granted, I'm a guy and a construction man, and I'm in this faculty senate. You guys understand what I mean. And this lady says, here's how we need to decide if people are done. What do you guys think? Does anybody have questions? And she goes, 1, 2, 3. And then she moves on. Silence is golden, right? Love it. I will figure this one out. I've got a couple ideas where I can allow you guys to get into it, but if you need it before you can get into Canvas, we'll figure out how to send that out. Okay, that's for me. What was this all concurrent? If your school will allow you to teach a smaller class, which they won't, then you should do an all concurrent class. I would love that.
Right now, I'm slated to teach non-concurrent next year.
Good. You're going to be one of the first that's ever done it. Because you just have a hard time getting that many people to commit. But what I need you to do is make sure they commit. Because I'm going to be a little bold and say high school grades are really not that important to the employers. But college grades never go away. Okay? They are always on your transcript. I can pull up my transcript and it says nothing about high school. But if I fail a class, a concurrent enrollment class, that is on my college transcript forever. Look at the drop dates to when they can go in and drop it. If they're sucking wind and they're not going to do well, encourage them to drop it. They are extended out a long, long ways, and they only pay $40. Here, these classes are costing $850. Express that to them. Great way to get some credit for cheap, but do not fail them, or they'll be permanent.
They still don't understand.
No, I don't. Once again, I will live under a viaduct before I step into your shoes. That's a hard thing for me, right? All right, any questions on the Woods class before we shift gears? Do you guys all want to get up and get a drink and a donut? 5 minutes. Go shake your head out. And then we'll switch gears just for a minute. All right. We're going to switch over to the cabinet making class. And this is kind of where I get a little ornery about what you guys send me. Okay? The woodworking class is kind of a bring them in and let's teach them about lumber and how to make things and joinery and all of that. And the variety of your equipment, all of that. You guys have your own world. Your shop is your world, okay? My shop is my world, and I always have a wish list. Always. That wish list is in high dollar items, mid dollar items, and low dollar items because it depends on where the money comes from and when. I love year-end money. It's done for this year, but right around April they say, hey, we've got money in all of these budgets we've pulled together. Can you guys spend $10,000? Always my answer is yes, because I always have a list. So when you go out there, you say, how did you get all of this equipment? I always have a list. I'm always asking. Carl Perkins Fund. I don't know what you guys get to apply for, but there are a lot of things that if you start asking the right questions, you might be able to get access to those. Okay? Now, I mentioned that everything was green when I came here. You'll notice most everything is not. I got a CNC machine. Okay, that was in 07, I think, or I don't remember when. 010, whatever. That was a $125,000 piece of equipment we got installed for $100. We were pretty impressed with that. But in order to get that, the guy from Styles Machinery flew here to see our shop, to see if it was worth giving us that educational discount. He was blown away by how much space we have. Showed him where we were going to put it. He's like, I have no problem giving you guys some discounts to get that in there. Use your educational side in everywhere you go. Can't tell you that enough, okay? The place I love the most, and some of you may or may not, is Advanced Machinery, okay? Have you guys ever used that? It's a local company. Most of the people that work there are all somewhat related, family. They're out of Morgan, Utah, but they're in Kaysville, okay? I like them because they represent Styles Machinery. You'll notice most of what I have is Styles Machinery. They go get trained. They have something like 6 service techs that they have. And that's the reason I buy from them is because they can actually go service, okay? That helps a lot. Now I know Axis Machinery, AXIS, is here. And they have 1 or 2 service guys that come along with their products as well. Haven't bought anything from them yet. The mitering machine could be purchased through them. When we do it, we just put out what we want and it has to go to bid. And whoever gets it, gets it. But those are the ways I get my stuff. Okay? M&M Tool, you guys have used, I know most of you guys like M&M Tool. We buy some things through them. That's a place where it depends on who you're talking to. Much like Macbeth Hardwoods, okay? Chris loves Macbeth, but Chris has used Macbeth for 30 years. They love him. I don't go to Macbeth unless I have to buy a dowel of an exact size because they're too expensive. So you all have ways and people in which you buy through, but equipment is something you want to look at service, in my opinion. If they can't service it and they're selling it to you, Worth, why go there? Okay? We bought one saw through Worth, and their installer came out with the salesman, and that salesman was whipping the installer to hurry, faster, 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 and they broke the side table. They need to install it correctly. And so watch for that. I'm just not telling you who to use, but there are a couple companies that have exceptional people in their service department, okay? Use your educational side. Use the district you're coming from. There are a lot of things you can do there, okay? Yes, sir.
How do you do your maintenance?
We have Sandra. I'll introduce you to Sandra here.
Okay.
We do use some money every year to have them come in and do tune-ups on some of our equipment from Advanced. They know exactly what we need from them, and they know what time they're going to spend because they've done it every year. And that stuff we have them do, but the stuff, blade sharpening, buying new, Sandra is a person we have that does that for us. If Sandra weren't here, I don't think I'd be here either. I can't do it all. Once again, my hat's off to you guys, because most of you don't have a service person in your area that can do your work for you. It's a hard thing, okay? I can make more money elsewhere. Why do I have this job if I can make more money? June, July, and August? Not having to go work if I don't want? Time off at Christmas? Time off is why I have this job. So for me, that's the value. Money comes and money goes. Okay. Now, real quick, when we talked about certain minimums. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about this more so in cabinet making, but the funding on the equipment, we already kind of covered that now. My prioritized lists. My favorite lists or my request lists, my ones I want first are at the top. That's how I get what I want. But if they don't have that much money, I just walk down the list and tell them, then buy this for me. Have it in priority, okay? Materials, okay? As a cabinet maker, the materials I love, my favorite sheet good. What's my favorite sheet good?
Cardboard.
What's that?
Cardboard.
Hardboard or cardboard?
Cardboard.
Cardboard, no, but I love cardboard because it has a lot of purposes.
Melamine.
Almost. What's the core of melamine?
Particle board.
Particle board is my favorite piece of material in sheet goods. It is so versatile. I don't always have to pre-drill it because it has flexibility inside of it. Melamine is made out of at least 3/4 inch out of particle board. 1/2 inches too. Once you get to the quarter, they go to MDF. But materials, okay? You've got melamine. You've got laminates. But those are outside surfaces. Let's go to particle board, MDF, hardboard, plywood, right? MDO. Do you guys know what MDO is? What is it? Everybody heard of Gold Ply? That's the brand name. That's the Kleenex name, right? It's the same thing. Medium density overlay on plywood.
Combination quarters, that's what you're talking about?
Plywood's negative is many. It's actually one of my least favorites, is softwood plywood. When you cut it, it's like cutting a board and the tension being released causes movement to happen. Despise that, right? But if you're putting a walnut veneer on top of a softwood rotary cut board, you see that under the walnut veneer. MDO is medium density overlay on top of plywood for lighter weight, but beautiful veneers. That's that. One of my favorites, but still particle board's my favorite. $19 a sheet is what it was. I don't know what it is now, but I won't go there. That might end. Okay, Baltic birch. Where is the Baltic birch from? Russia, right? Can we get it? It's more than doubled. Way, way, way more than doubled. Yeah. Okay. Functional hardware. Okay. Functional hardware is my drawer glides, my hinges. Okay. I'm just going to pass these around real quick. There is a difference between every one of these hinges. Okay. If you don't know it, study it for a minute. Okay. What about hinge plates? What is this hinge plate used for? Do you guys know? Face frame. Face frame. Good. Will I ever use this on a Euro box? Maybe. There are an occasional where this is actually easier than having to use this, okay? Many of you may not use this because it's expensive, but this is to go on the side of my Eurobox, on the panel, not on a face frame. Frame, panel, okay? These are what we use, hinge plates, okay? It won't reopen. I about killed my hand trying to open that dumb thing. Okay, let's talk about these.
Epoxy coated.
Cheap and easy, that's what I call them, 230Ms, okay? White roller glides with a nylon wheel, okay? They're a beautiful thing when you know how to use them, okay? I still have them in my house for 13 years with babies growing into teenagers, and they haven't broken. They're loud, they slam, they have all these negatives, but they cost me $2.80 a piece. And they still work. Okay? You want to pass them around? Do you care? Anybody want to hold them? They're clackety. Anyway. What kind of glides are these?
Ball bearing.
Ball bearing.
Soft extension.
Full extension, yes. Not soft close on these, but they do make them with soft close, okay? These are what I would call AccuRides. I believe this brand is AccuRide. The funny thing about these and those is the same side clearance for either one. So you can make a drawer and use either one. One thing I will say though is those are cool because they hold the weight from the bottom of the drawer. These are only on the side. So sometimes your drawer box might need to change if you need a lot of weight in it. Okay, so AccuRide or ball bearing type. Okay, well these fuglies.
Undermount.
These are undermount, tandem, soft close. I think these are 9s, maybe 12s, I can't remember. Now these are,
Some people's kids.
anyway, I have these because no one ever uses them and I keep them in my little display cabinets. But the idea here is undermount. They're ugly as can be, but you don't see them because when they come out, my drawer covers them. Undermount, okay? And soft close. How much per set if you're doing 18s or 21s? They're the most common, they're the cheapest ones of all of them. These are more than an 18-inch set because they're not made by very much. How much is an 1821 worth purchasing? You guys buy them? Probably not with your students. Nobody wants to spend that money. These are about $18, $19 a set from Bloom, okay? Who do you buy your hardware through?
By Bloom, there's only like 2 or 3 choices,
3 choices in the Valley.
and Worth is the one with the biggest stuff.
Worth is awesome because I think they have the best website. We hardly call them anymore. They made a really awesome website. McKillican also offers Worth, and so also does advanced hardware. They're new, but they are now offering Worth.
Where's McKillican on it? I didn't know he had one there.
We do. They are, if you're going up 215, and there's that junction for 201, they're just north of that. They need to label the freeway side, in my opinion, but it's a white building there. Okay, all right. Now, this is cool. This is the clip we use for the tandem glides. It allows you up and down in the front by this thing going forward and back. The little wedge here lifts the front up or drops it down, and this little wheel allows us, it's underneath, and we can go to the right or go to the left to line up our drawer fronts in cabinet making. So understanding, pass that around, let people play with it. Okay. These are 2 different types of cabinets we build. This one's got a face frame. It's got panelized doors and drawers, all wood. We made them, stained them, glazed them, and lacquered them. Okay, this is one of the versions we do. Right now, this is all we do is shaker style, flat panel, painted. Okay. What's your favorite between these 2?
Euro.
You're going to go Euro. Would you like this style with wood?
No.
You're a painted guy.
I don't like paint. I'm sorry. I like the style of the cabinet.
Cabinet style,
The wood.
wood.
I don't like paint.
How many of you are paint fans?
Currently painting.
you're
I
current,
just did my kitchen.
and you painted it. What color?
It's white.
Have you ever had kids?
Yes,
Do they eat Cheetos and Doritos and hot dogs?
I'm past that point.
Good, because you wouldn't ever want them if you.
No.
Right?
No. Yeah, right now,
Okay, so very
it was my wife's dream kitchen.
well. That's not your choice then. Okay, I've got my wife almost convinced not to kill my wood. She's killing it in the bathroom though. I'm now painting my awesome bathroom with a curved front sink blue, but that's okay. We do soft close. And the students learn all about how those work, okay? There's a system, it's not on Bloom anymore, but it's called Process 32. Have you guys heard of that? Have you heard of Process 32? Okay, you need to look it up. I can send you the info, and I have an edited version that I've scaled it down. Bloom, I should write this in orange, right? Process 32. Quick story, when I got hired, we could not build Euroboxes because our edge bander sucked. And without an edge bander, Euroboxes are a stupid joke, okay? You don't want to go there. As soon as we knew we were getting an edge bander, I start researching. And there are so many options on how to make Euroboxes. Thankfully, I have a friend, his name's Larry Nielsen, and I said, Larry, what would you do? He's like, have you not seen Process 32? I'm like, what is that? He said, Bloom took this concept, used American sizes, and created a manual so that Americans can use their sizes and use 32 millimeter system. Recommend it. I have a couple little things to finalize my custom Process 32, because it has stuff like solo glides that aren't made anymore, tandem boxes, which we don't use. We still want to have them build a dovetail drop. So I've cleaned all of that out and have a shortened version that I send to the students that they can have and have a quick reference. But everything about the way that system works is bottom up and then the first hole dimension. And from there, it's all 32 millimeter. It is sweet. I've researched center out both directions, top down, bottom up. Blah. Process 32 makes the drawer glides, the hinges, everything, snap, bam, let's go to town. Everything I program for CNC machine is off that Process 32 manual. I do it because I teach it manually, but then when they see it come out on the CNC, it's still the same. Once again, changes I've made to make it easier, cleaner, whatever. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Decorative hardware, handles and knobs, okay? I get mine from Worth. I do try and lean on the lesser expensive side. You guys know that you can go up to $50 a handle if you go with like top knobs and that kind of stuff. I don't get it. I'm a little too conservative for that. Joinery and cabinet making, okay? Butt joints. Let me tell you a story. I grew up in a wealthy neighborhood. My young man's leader as a teacher was Todd Hammond. Todd Hammond at that point owned the Salt Lake Sierra Hardwoods store. And he said to me two things. He said, first, I know you and I see what you've made for your parents and you'll never make it as a cabinet maker. And I said, why? He says, until you recognize that cabinet making is a box with a door on it, you'll never make it. I was building furniture for my front room, everything nice, all that, right? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Arrogant little prick, whatever I was, right? And it was interesting because I now teach cabinet making is a box with a door on it, okay? So when you look at the way I build my boxes, it's similar to what Process 32 shows. I have a screw, I have two brads, I use melamine glue. I have a backing inset, the thickness of my nailer, everything I have taken because I got taught along the way by people I knew, places I toured with students, and everywhere I go, I learn something new from you guys. Okay, when I go out to these teachers, Paul Salem says, oh yeah, I always do it this way. I teach my students drill on the up and down because this way you can see, but this way you can't. That's brilliant. Pretty cool. So I learn things from everybody, and it's cool. So have an open mind, go out there and think about it. But simplicity. Slap these boxes out, okay? Now, we went and toured Fashion Cabinets a couple weeks ago, my last day we were touring. How many boxes a day is Fashion Cabinets putting out right now?
150.
Okay, any other guesses? 200 to 300? It's a big range, 100 boxes a day. They're putting out 280 cabinets a day. Now, he said,
These are they operating over there.
no, not as many as you might think, but they have a process and a giant shop. Where is your number one holdup?
Assembly.
No, hopefully not. Where?
Finish.
Finishing. Because you have to wait for things to dry. They solve that with a chain. And the people that are spraying are walking along with it, rotating it, spraying it, and off it goes. Goes around the shop, comes back, gets stuffed by someone else, and that sprayer gets it again. It's amazing. They solve these issues because they have the money and the mindset to solve them. Pretty impressive, okay? They don't have the UV, but Fetzer does, right? Yeah, okay. Is it fair for me to say cheap and easy?
Well, it has to be, if you're talking awesome and expensive, you're talking about furniture, not boxes.
Correct. Have you guys ever had Conformat screws? You guys know what those are? They're the ones that say, you don't need glue, we just use our freaking doweled screw. I always use glue. I'm not yet ready to give that up. But you order them from Alpha Cabinets or you order them from Lewis, they come pre-drilled for Conformats. So get used to those if you don't want to have to cut your whole kitchen out by yourself, okay? There is an advantage. Now here, I can make anything I want for me. But if I'm going to make a dime on it, I can't have it here. Therefore, I have to understand how to outsource, and that's what I do, okay? I teach them tree to lumber, okay? Now, you guys already know this, but I think it's important. We all want to say a tree looks like that, but that's a bunch of BS as well. A tree, hardwood trees, look like this. And the grain is following those directions. And we want our board to look like this because we are perfect. We want straight, easy, clean, plain sawn, quarter sawn, or what? Rift, right? Those are our three basic cuts in hardwoods. But which one of those is the best? Quarter sawn is the strongest and only goes one direction in shrinking and expanding, okay? Depends on your purpose, okay? We love, I've got Pioneer furniture. They hated it. They wanted plain sawn, but they couldn't have it because they air dried everything. We teach them all of that. We teach them how wood moves, how we have to make accommodations for that. I cannot stop a piece of wood from moving. I can't. I can put an airtight, sealed container around it. Temperature will change the movement of that board. It's a sponge. Deal with it, right? Lumber, 4-quarter, 8-quarter, rift cut, all of that. Sheet goods, we talked a little bit about that. Veneers, melamines, laminates. What do you put on top? And then finishes, okay? That is what I cover in my cabinet class. Realize I have the same number of hours as you, but here's the difference, and this is why I get a little ornery. We build a house every year. My class is putting cabinets in that house. And our class rule in cabinet making, number one rule, besides don't hurt yourself, is what?
No red stuff.
If you're talking about blood, I agree. What is my number one rule? My biggest class was like 18, 19 students. If you're going to buy our house at $600,000, and I have 18 brand new people making cabinets, they damn well better be consistent. Is that hard with 18 new people? It's hard. I go home exhausted, angry, sometimes joyful. Just depends on the day. Because consistency, we have to build them the same. Your door and your door can't be different. They're on the same wall. So it's a challenge. So I'm a little ornery when people come to me and have credit and don't have a rat's clue what cabinet making is. Because we are producing, we are teaching, going out into the industry. Go to Fetzer, go to Mill Creek, go to, Fashion. You got to know what you're doing. So my 2 hours a day of theory, if they're taking notes, they're smarter than the people that are at the companies. Because I teach them everything there is to know about everything. I got in trouble because I taught a 3-hour lecture on screws. I got in trouble because the guy that got me in trouble worked it all of his life. But I had 5 people in there that never knew a difference between a screw and a screw. So many screws, so many purposes, so many reasons. Brass grabbers need to be put in the dump and never put out again. Amen. Right? Amen. So, questions for me on the cabinet making side. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you are actually producing cabinets for a home? What home? You're doing it. Okay?
Well, we're all doing it.
Good.
There's 4 teachers.
Paul Salin and the Cottonwood High teacher back then were doing granite home. And one took the bathrooms, one took the kitchen, whatever they did, right? If you're building cabinets for a home, I will look at and probably approve you because you're doing what I'm doing. If you're building hutches or boxes or whatever, that's not cabinet making. We need to see production mindsets being put in. So I'm a little ornery with that one. I thought Granite called me a year and a half ago. I was working on his kitchen, and they said, can you build our cabinets? We don't have any of our teachers set up to do this yet. And I said, unfortunately, I can't. And they must have contacted you about a year and a half ago.
So our teacher at Cypress got a brand new edge bander. So right now we're trying to get her to CNC that's more accurate than what she has for that purpose.
Yeah.
So she's building the boxes, he's doing all the door boxes, and we're doing the doors and doors.
There you go.
But next year it'll be different. We'll split
Yeah.
it different.
Swap them around. And yeah. So I love that. I love it.
Be the best consistency for.
Yeah, because you guys are managing one portion. That is what cabinet making is. That's how I order stuff. I got a guy that makes my boxes, a guy that makes my doors and drawer fronts. That way they're consistent, right? I love what you're doing. Okay? My heart gets soft when I hear, yeah, we are producing. Canyon School District needs to pull their head out and get some of their teachers teaching this, because I have to look at that and say whether I want to do theirs still.
They're too busy doing guitars.
Well, don't pick on guitars. Other questions on the cabinet making side of things?
You still want to word this, right?
You're on our list. We're in the middle of this other habitat question. We did a job habitat in Park City. Okay? Park City ought to alone say, what? Are you serious? They're $1 million homes. I don't know how Habitat's making it work. Don't even go there with me. But we did this job, and they picked, and I'll show you the lumber when we go there. They want me to always go out and say, what will the companies give? And in the past, I've never had to buy lumber for Habitat, because Sierra from Canada says, give them whatever they want. It didn't happen this time, and everybody gave a bid, but High Mountain came in and says, we have a couple of units that might fit your quantities that we're not going to sell. It's too small for most people. So I sent him my quantities, and it worked out perfect. And we got a textured melamine, walnut for the outside, and sanded pine for the inside. $80 sheets for $26. They were ecstatic, and the texturing, let's pass this around real quick. If you look at the texture on these, the texturing is just a standard texture. On any of the grains, it doesn't follow the grain. This particular grain followed the frickin' walnut grain. My brain can't comprehend how they do that. They obviously have some way to make that happen. They looked phenomenal, and I didn't have to spray one part. It came with banding that was 1 millimeter thick because it also was textured. I mean, it was fantastic work.
We need to look at, because they're asking us if we could start redoing backsplash.
There you go. Laminates you see a lot in schools. You have to fork out some money, but these textured melamines are going into $1 million homes across the nation. And they're not finishing them. It's fascinating to me. These are things I learned, asking questions.
From High Mountain, or is this the stuff worth carrying, or something similar?
You know, that the one we got that was the walnut and the sanded pine was an American Laminates product. This is some newer versions from High Mountain. Feel free to thumb through front and back. Roseburg is a product out there. Panalam is a product out there. But what I'd like to show you guys on these colors, do you want bright red? We can get you bright red, right? Anything you want. There's one in here, looks like brushed steel. Guess what? It's called Negotiating in Geneva. I don't know where they come up with that, but it's a brushed steel look. They have one that I have over, but it is actually Mossy Oak brand melamine. You can do anything with these. And I teach my students, what's the second half of my cabinet name? The class. Renewable materials. Hence, my favorite product is particle board. It comes from waste from a sawmill. MDF comes from waste from trees that are in the way while they're going to get other trees that they used to just burn. It gets ground down into fibers. It doesn't matter what the tree is. We in the cabinet industry and in the architectural wood industry are using veneers and melamines and laminates and saving lumber. We're trying to get away from just hogging down trees for fun, right? But the cool thing about America, American lumber, is most of it is harvested, meaning that they cut it down and they plant and come back 25 years later, 30, 40 years later. But Weyerhaeuser, Sierra Pacific, they own northern Montana, and they are just farming trees. That's their job. And they replant, and they keep going, and they keep going. It's renewable.
Yeah, they've been doing it since the beginning, Weyerhaeuser.
Yep. Questions? Okay. Let's go for a tour and see the projects that are done in Chris Gochner's class, the Woods class, where you can look into the furniture cage as we go down there. The one thing I do like to brag to your students when we go to these job fairs and everything is that we do have the largest square footage of any educational shop in the state of Utah, and we have the most technologically advanced program. UVU might have a more little CNC machines or whatever, but we are very well equipped, and we've got space, and we always are asking for something newer and cooler and keeping up with industry. And our advisory board, you guys have been part of that Granite advisory board thing. They're always like at Skills USA, the guy at Fetzer came up and says, "Did you know that these sliding table saws, Altendorf and another one, now have a stop technology?" you need to go looking for that. Felder, there's that Felder, yep. Those two now have a stop technology on that saw. So we've already submitted the one we would like in a request under the safety aspect, which gives us top priority because we don't want to ever pick up someone's fingers.
And it's resettable, it doesn't ruin the blade.
Yes.
No cartridge.
You don't have the damage to your, I don't know how it works.
It's resettable. The resettable system.
You guys ready to walk? Okay, let's go show you what we do. Oh, one more thing, because we probably, other than if you want stuff, Revishelf. Do you guys know Revishelf? If you don't, get to know them. Garbage cans, bathroom things that pull out have hair dryers and plugs in them. Unbelievable. Look at the thickness of this catalog. Teeny little pages. It's amazing.
It's awesome stuff.
It's awesome if you're going to be a cabinet maker. No reason to build it yourself when you can buy it. Okay. Oh, one other thing. We went from making wood doors. If you walk back there, I'll show you a couple little things. This one was made out of wood, but we're now making doors out of raw MDF because our machine can do that through the software. So the last job we did for our home in West Valley that's going to sell here at the first part of June was this. We had a little tighter corner up here because we use an 1/8" bit to go in and just clean up the corner. Fantastic. The one thing we're trying to figure out, however, is sanding this part consistently. Well, we have and I'll show you that. We have a really cool sander that's built for this, but these guys want to go in and tip it. The second they tip it, there's a line. And you can't really get that out very easily. So we had to replace a couple. But MDF doors.
So I may have gone painted, but I got my wood.
Looks good. Oh,
Finish where you put on the MDF.
so we do a primer. That is our bonding agent. And then we put a lacquer-based paint of whatever color we have mixed up. And then we do one coat of clear lacquer over the top.
You do a coat of lacquer over the top of the doors?
Because we don't want color coming off on cleaning rags.
Let me run that. I think that's what we need to do on
You do.
the job we're doing right now.
I've talked to a lot of people and they said,
What if they're European cabinets, so what if the cabinet is blue and then if I do it, it'd have a different sheen on it though, wouldn't it?
well, you could to pick your sheen.
Yeah, but I mean, the boxes are already installed.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying, I couldn't put it on.
Okay, so here's just our lumber storage for the cabinet class. So you'll see sheet goods, lumber, and then strips that we cut out, all ready for whatever color, whatever we're going to do to them, and then our little cutoffs on that side. This storage room here is the personal projects cage. So you'll see a little bit of everything in there. This one here is the furniture cage. And if you look in there at some of the boxes that are in there, those are true blue through mortises that are poking out, and they bevel them. You can see up there a 3-legged stool. They can build that out in about a month and a half. You see these seats right here. I'll show you the rest of those seats. But the other thing I wanted to point out is if you look in here, how many sheet goods do you see?
Nothing.
None. A whole different concept than cabinet making, right? Go down here, and this is the woodworking cage. I'm hoping my key still works because I want you guys to come in here. This is one of those lots that doesn't let my key come out. These are the tables that they do. This is veneer. This is a veneered border and then solid wood outside. Curved front. This is actually with the drawer is grain matched all the way through. This little guy here, I got a story to tell on this, but if you look at that guy, those are tilted in on all 4 sides and handmade dovetails
No, thank you.
on a tilt. Okay, he offers that Woods 1 class to build that one or a toolbox style. But they do the joinery handmade. It's fantastic what he can do. When I taught it, we didn't do that. We made a box, raised panels, a cabinet making style box, but no way did I ever go there. So that's why I'm flexible on that class. I would love them to know what that joinery is, multiple ways you can do that joinery, but I don't need them to do a box like that. You have 30 kids per class. You can't do that, okay? I understand where you guys are coming from enough to say I don't want to do your job. Is that fair? You'll see here, these are what those chairs are. They're making these curved, and I sat in one, Chris says, hey, sit in this chair. It was his demo, had the rocker and everything. I'm like, I think I'm just going to keep it. That curve fit my back. Everything's curved, and these guys are running hand tools on so much of it. This is in the furniture class, and it's fascinating to see what they do in the period of one semester.
Do you know what this is?
Most of these are mahogany, whether it's Sapele or African or whatever. Yeah.
But it's not red enough to be Sapele. I think Sapele's a little bit more red, but I can't.
Okay.
It's really nice though.
But this is the quality level that we're hitting right now. When Chris goes back out of it, I don't know who the next teacher is going to be and where we land, but I do understand where you guys are coming from, because if I was you, I would be doing what you guys are doing, because you can't make every kid do this. But that's kind of the range of what we're kind of looking at, okay?
So is there a place for it in our education system at all?
If you get to that last class where they're able to build anything they want, and you can walk them through stuff like this, maybe. And that's where, if you guys have an exceptionally awesome class and they're doing this, then we look, do we want to offer that 1,400 furniture one for those very high-end people? Maybe. The challenge then comes, can you get enough that your district will run it? There's all of these arms reaching in.
We have combined classes, they'll run anything.
Yeah. But do you have enough people in that class to run it? Yeah. So, and I don't know.
Right now, Woods 2, Woods 3, and concurrent enrollment are combined for most teachers in our district.
There you go. I want to show you a couple other things. This is Chris understanding lumber. These boards are stacked there with what? Stickers in between them. He teaches us, guys, if you put these away on top of each other, you will come back and you will have a curved board, period. Wood has to breathe on both sides. If you spray one side, you better spray the other. You can't do something to one and not to the other. If you're on a planer, you don't take 5 passes off one side and 1 off the other. You expose more moisture. It's going to curl on you. All of this stuff is so important for these guys to know if they're going to do it for a living. Okay? Questions? Let's see, this little guy, let me see which one is here. This one right here. This was a simplistic, it's upside down right now, but this one looks really simplistic. He's like, oh, that wouldn't take very long. The simplicity look of it is what makes it hard. These are inset doors with beaded edges. In order to do a door with a beaded edge and a mortise and tenon joint, you have to miter that beaded edge. I mean, it's fascinating work that they did. And this one isn't done, but they actually made their own little crown molding on the table saw, so it is pretty cool to watch. So it's fun to see what they do. Okay, let's go in my shop and walk through there. And I'll just kind of say what the tools are and what they're for. I better get my keys and lock this up before we go. Oh, right here, if you guys want to look, there's sanded pine and the walnut. And pull that walnut out and look at the grain and the texturing on it. It's fascinating how cool that is. And you know that just goes up in price in order to make that stuff actually work.
So do concurrent teachers get a discount on tuition for classes we want to take on double?
That is not a question I can answer.
We've been working on it.
I just want to take Chris's furniture class.
Right?
But I looked, there was 5 slots
You have to sign up so quick on that one because we have a lot of repeat students in there. And in theory, he can kick anybody out for a new person, period. Whether he chooses to or not. But if they're, I mean, we've had people in there for 10 years, every semester.
Well, the waiting
Come
list,
on,
when I
right?
looked, the waiting list was full, but it still said there were 5 spots.
Yeah, well. Let's go in here. We'll knock this room out really quick. This is the gal that you asked, who does your maintenance? Yeah. This is Sandra Hall. She's the one that does all of the maintenance and knows who to call if it's not working. She's quiet. She works like a champ. She sorted about 16 billion screws. I'm not lying. A fascinating person. So, thanks. What do you see in here? A lot of somethings. Lathes. We do a class that's a Native American style flute making class. And these are all brand new lathes, okay? Powermatic still makes, I think, one of the best lathes out there at certain sizes, okay? Delta is what we had before, and we got a good deal on them. They were the worst piece of crap we've ever owned. So you have to understand brand names. When you're asking about a planer, how old is that Powermatic? So let me tell you what I did. And this is a story, but we have I still have one. I needed a new drill press. Powermatic came out with their brand new drill press. It's so awesome, so I bought it. $900 or something. It was on a good deal or whatever. That thing was the biggest piece of crap I've ever had. I hated it. Not as much as I hated the Delta lathes, but it was awful. Well, I got my tumor and was vacant for a little bit after I got my brain tumor removed. And Chris went out and wanted to buy 2 more drill presses. And he bought Powermatic. I cried. I'm like, no, Chris. Oh, I've heard they've improved them. They were worse. Sandra and I, after 1 month, took the top off, and the shank was rusted, and we couldn't get the thing to move up and down for the speed. We beat that thing to pieces. So, brand, on planers, I don't know. We've gone with Advanced Machinery. We've been getting, this one's an older, a High Point, but the one on the other side, it's a Chinese-made machine, but it's solid. This one's been around the longest, and it just is a rock-solid beast, okay? I don't know what to tell you brand-wise, but these ran around in the $10,000 to $12,000 range.
Is that ironwood reliable?
The only thing we had an issue with is that it somehow got off kilter. That got fixed, and it's been awesome. It's technically the same thing as this. They just buy it and they label it themselves.
Okay.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just spec'd out a new planer for Cypress. I kind of,
Sells this around here, buddy.
This is from Advanced Machinery. Okay. Altendorfs are what we have for our sheet good saws. I know that space requirement for your shops is maybe next to impossible. But we have 4 of them because we have the largest shop in the state of Utah, right? We only have 4 because we had a prison program that was running, and the warden and our ex-president that left got in a big old piss and match, and she finally said, look, yes or no, and if you say no, we're taking every bit of our equipment out. And we had a men's side and a women's side fully equipped, and he says, we don't want you. So we got 4 more Altendorfs. I'm like, well, I'll keep 2 of them. We had to surplus a couple of them, and all of that happens. But the joiners we buy are nice. I love the joiners that we purchase. These ones, this big one, Chris loves it because he does flattening. You guys know how to flatten and why we do a joiner and not a planer? Yeah, I hope so. After you flatten and you want to straighten the edge, which edge do you put up on the fence? The one you just flattened, and then you get what? 90. If it's at 90, you get 90. That's how you make a board ready to run, okay? This is also used for our acoustical guitar making class. They're making, bending the wood, everything. And we got the guy that used to teach it over at High Mountain. Todd Hammond got out of Sierra and went and bought High Mountain and kicked them out. But he's now teaching it here and he loves it. So we have acoustical guitar making, the flute making, and we have an electrical guitar class that was started through the engineering department about sound waves, but they don't teach it anymore. And we want to like co-list because it's easier to co-list and then take it from them in our curriculum, whatevers. So we're going to work on that this coming year and get that as to be part of ours. So we have all the stuff. It's all, anyway. I want to promote one brand. I love this, and I say if I could marry this stupid drill press, I would. But that Nova drill press right there. If you haven't seen one, go to nova.com and look at that drill press. Go online and look at what that stupid thing can do. This thing is amazing because you don't have any pulleys. Turn it on. It just takes a minute, but I'm just going to show you this. It can start when you come down. It can stop when you go up. It's got all this cool stuff like that. It's not plugged in, so I won't be able to show you anything. Oh, yeah. There we go. Refer to the owner's manual, speed and direction, safety gear. Just tells you. Watch this. We turn it on. We're at 900 right now. I want to go faster. Up to 3,000 digitally with a motor. No belts, no rust, none of that. It tells me I can set this and reset how high I am, how far down I want to go, how far up I'm going. If you take the time and you're making a plaque and you got to drill 5,000 holes, it can do all of that for you. Same setups here, fascinating. Go watch the video. I can't tell you enough. When you watch that, you'll say, I want one.
What's it cost?
I don't know. Sandra does our,
Ballpark, I mean, just,
probably $1,400.
oh, 100?
Really?
Okay.
Ask Sandra before we leave, don't quote me.
No, I'll just,
We have a molder. We've been trained on it, but we never have time to set her up and run the dumb thing. Okay? We have a white belt sander. That one's our old one. It's got 3 heads. It's a fantastic machine. Thing I love about it is it still has the dial. And when you replace all of your employees every 15 weeks, a dial is sure a lot easier to do than a digital screen. Okay? You'll see our other one. And I love it, but I hate teaching with it. It's a lot of work. But this is kind of the arts and crafts side of our place. We don't do trades stuff on this side. Let's go to the other side now. We do have the little Maverick CNC machine, and in that office with the glass, we do have a big Epilog laser as well. When I say big, I think they had to take it apart to get it through the door and then put it back together. It's huge. But that Maverick's been a pain in the butt. This has been a pain in the butt. In here, this is more set up in the concept of production. So I'm going to bring my lumber in here. I'm going to run it through the planer. I'm going to step it to the side and joint it. I'm going to bring it back here and rip it. Or inline rip, if you guys have known how these work, there's a laser line that shoots out. And you can set it. I put a red mark there. So you put your board right there, and that black line is where the blade's going to be. And then I stand back here, and at this location right here, that laser up there shoots out, and it's accurate where it's going to hit my board here. And I walk it forward, and as soon as it goes through those kickback fingers, I have about this far before it hits the feed roller. So I get up right to the edge of that feed roller, I check my laser, and I look here, and I push it in. And I walk it to about here after it grabs it, and make sure that laser is still in the same spot, and then I let it go. And it goes through, and I have a straight edge. Then I can bring the board back around to whatever dimension I have set up for my width, and I run them. It's an amazing tool, and it takes out 4 to 5 passes on the joiner, and with the cabinet making, I'm running 10-foot strips. Can you join the 10-foot strip easily? No, that's a big job, but this little guy just knocks it right out. Okay, we have an upcut saw. Most of you now have those. If you still have a radial arm saw, I will get on my knees and beg you to get rid of it.
I'm begging to get rid of it.
Do it. And if you need me to send you every reason in the world why you should, I will do it. We had 5 when I got this job. We have 0 now. They are the worst saws for student safety ever. And we used to have a little article up on that board over there where a guy came in and cut his arm off on the radial arm saw. And it's my joke, but it was for real. The board got caught, it jumped forward, and you're pulling that blade in the direction it wants to go. And no one understands that. And so they put a board in that's curved, they put the curve towards them, and when that board slaps back and pinches that blade, here comes that saw. It's crazy. You don't want it. Okay? I want to show you, this is our new sander. Everything about that, you see what's magneted on the side? Digital calipers. It's awesome, it's accurate, it's unbelievable, but teaching 15 new people every 15 weeks, Chris Dockner hates that thing. But what it can do is we can put in that 400 grit paper and we can scuff sand. We just push scuff or paint or whatever, and it doesn't use the first head. And it's got a sensor in there that adjusts the platen for your board. So you can just kiss the top of your board and do all your scuff sanding with that and just run your doors through. So we have 50 doors, we run them through, flip them over, run them through again. We don't change the height, and it just kisses them for us. What? Pretty cool. I would still choose the one with the handle. They sent me to Vegas. I wanted the one with the handle, and they said, we've already ordered the other one. I'm like, why did you send me to Vegas thing? What a horrible city. But anyway, our edge bander here, this is from Styles. It's a home ag type product. The only reason I bring this up is if you are out looking for one. If you're out looking for one, you have to spend a little bit of money to get it. But right here is a pre-trim device. None of your students cut boards straight. Do you agree? This pre-trim device trims off however much you want to take off that board. We choose to trim off the thickness of our banding. But what it does, it has the up cut and the down cut cutter. So both top and bottom are clean, and then it puts the banding on after that. Awesome. I've had one there, one here that didn't have it. That was half my battle, just fighting crooked boards. Awesome, okay? Saw stop, saw stop, saw stop. That one's my Dado saw. Technically on OSHA, this one should be labeled no guard because it's a Dado saw. That one should be labeled no guard because it's a custom saw. But my rip saw always has a guard on it. I'm pretty particular about guards. I think they're important. They still are a mechanical device that can fail. So even on a saw stop, I'm not going to trust that. Okay? Anybody know what this is?
Horizontal bandsaw.
Horizontal bandsaw. Chris Dockner's class uses this all the time because they cut their own veneers and then they can book match whatever the veneer they have. Pretty cool tool.
This is on the list for Skyline High.
Oh, is it really?
You'll love it.
Alpha, Cornish Kings, and Brightmar, yeah.
There you go. Line boring machine. We use this. I teach my cabinet class manual first, so we usually make all of our base cabinets out of the manual because we just need to do one row of holes. We start from the bottom up using process 32, and this has been amazing. You don't 37 millimeter off the front, but we set the back row to match up to our drawer glide length, so the drawer glides go right into those holes like that, right? A couple more drill presses, shaper. We have a lot of shapers, but I want to show you three more things that I think is cool. You guys need to consider. Most of you have the 3 or 4 head shaper setups, okay? the item that's all in one, and I love that for a production mindset. We had old shapers, scary old shapers that had no safeties. We had to make our own. And we got researching and we found these guys. And if you haven't seen them, they're pretty cool, but they will cut your cope cut, your stick cut, and your panel cut just by altering the height of the blade. So I'm going to go like this and take the cutter up. Right now I was on panel. I can rotate this over to cope, and I put it down, and it goes down to the cope cut. It has 3 cutter heads on the one thing. So it gets fingers out of the way, because if you get hurt on this, you deserve it. Because your hand should be here. If they're not here, good luck. And I teach them that. This is a harder tool to teach, but once they get it, we had one injury. There was one of the old guys, he'd gone to Vietnam. He was a single guy with a dog at Vietnam. And he says, I don't know how many people I killed. I was told that if someone moved, shoot it and kill it. So I did. I shot everything I saw. But he had these pain meds he was on that was fantastic. You know, I kind of want some. But he had his hand up here when he was cutting the cope cut, had his hand right here, and as he hit the blade, he had not clamped them down. And because they weren't clamped down, the board opened and then slammed back. And it sandwiched his finger, blew it open, and it looked like a trice-baked potato. He's like, oh yeah, that kind of hurts. I'm like, kind of hurts? Medication. I said, you have to go in. I had to take him over, force him to take him to our clinic. It doesn't really hurt that bad. It's bleeding. You're crazy, right? Anyway, very cool tool though, and very safe for cutting doors, stiles, and rails. This little guy is our dovetail. They're probably in the neighborhood of about 20 or 22. Depends on how many cutter heads you get. The smaller cutter heads, for
Size-wise, it fit, 'cause
That's-
you're getting rid of 3.
you're getting rid of 3 shapers, right? Yeah. 20,000 bucks. And I'll just say this, okay? If you're looking at making a door shop, your dollar figure is higher than buying a CNC machine and an edge bander, because these things are not cheap. As many profiles as they offer, each profile costs $1,500 because you need 1 cutter head and a second, so you can I mean, it gets so expensive so fast. We have 2. That's our shaker style. This is our raised panel style, and that's all we do.
So how does that work from a production standpoint when you're replacing 3 machines with 1? Now you can't run.
Yes, you're stuck. But shaper, if we need to, that one's always our open available shaper, the one your hand's on. Okay? Pretty cool, awesome for safety. Think that over for your kids. I did and taught my first 2 semesters having guys push panels through a shaper, cutting out this giant panel cut. And I'll tell you, my hair, my neck went up every time I went in there, and I was able to get George very quickly to say, do it, get it out of here. This little guy right here is about 35,000 bucks, but this is our CNC dovetail cutter. Pretty cool, okay? I haven't even got into the manual side of things. I just choose the automatic, tell it top, set down, how many joints I want, and how wide my board is, and it creates those joints accurately for me. Pretty sweet. Noisy on Baltic birch, because it's hard. Birch versus softwood, totally different type of plywood.
I ran that before. It's a nice
It's cool. They make a bigger one, comes out to about here, and it can do amazing stuff. But I talked to Chris, he's like, I'm never going to use that. So I'm like, okay, let's save $18,000 and get this one. Right here is cheap and easy, but it's a drawer clamping device. I set it back and front, so this height doesn't need to be taller than that. And I can go widths all the way up to here and get all the way out to, say, a 36-inch drawer width. Put my drawer in there, push this foot pedal down, and it clamps it. Once it's clamped tight to there, I turn this on, and I walk away, and it keeps it clamped while I glue up the next one. We use a Doris Express glue. It's a 5-minute set time. So by the time I get this other one glued up, pounded together, I can pull that out, put it on a cart, put the next one in, push it in, clamp it, lock it, go do the
Dowel drawers.
dovetails.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
All of them. They can do all of them, but
Dowels as well,
yeah, yep. So that's a pretty cool. It wasn't expensive. I want to say $5,000 to $7,000. Not too bad. When we're talking about equipment costs, that's not bad. This little guy, if you're not doing tandems, don't worry about it. But if you're doing tandem glides, they have to have notched out in the back so that hidden glide has somewhere to go. This guy, you plop your drawer in here, pull it to here, push it back. These two buttons get pushed when you push it in, and that was your drill bit jumping to this side for a left side bore, and then you push these two, drops to that side for a right side bore, but it cuts that slot and drills the hole in the back. Cutting that slot, good, I'm glad you see that. We did manual with banging, we did the Dago saw, but we had to make 2 cuts. I mean, it was forever. This guy plop, pull, push the foot pedal, done. It's amazing, okay? Pretty cool. But that's essentially our shop. That's what we have. You guys think about your space and what you think you would want and email me. I put a lot of time into research, and my wife will tell me what she wants and say, take your time, do your thing. She didn't like that when we first got married, but I look at reviews. I call people, I go see them at their shops and see them run, because it's a lot of money I'm sinking into a piece of equipment. I want to know I'm going to like it. I went to Vegas. I picked out a different machine, and they got that one for me, and it's a challenge. The handle is what we need for newbies. They need that. A guy that's going to run that for his life, great. We got an awesome machine, but don't send me somewhere and then decide my opinion doesn't matter. I'm the guy in the classroom doing this. You guys need to be a little firm on your choices. Still has to go out to bid, but we would have bid out. It was cool. It was a.
You gotta write your specs on the bid so tight.
No, they wouldn't even listen to me.
They wouldn't even do that.
It was a Time Saver brand, and it had a planer sander.
I love those.
Isn't that not the coolest thing? And it had a dial. It was the coolest thing, and they shut me down. And they don't teach.
Sounds about right. That's bureaucracy for you.
Anyway. I think we are past time. You guys got 2 hours and 20 minutes with me. Hopefully you saw and learned. Hopefully you understand reasons why things happened with Concurrent the way it did. And that we are willing to open our eyes and ears and offers. But you guys have to propose to me what you're doing and then let me come see you on that cabinet class. I had people doing cabinets that weren't doing cabinets. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So anyway, that's how that stuff rolls. And
Would you want, for that cabinet class, would you want a specific software for us to use? I ask because our district's fighting us on paper and any cabinets. So right now, the only cabinet, one teacher has cabinet vision, cabinet sense, cabinet,
something.
it's a crap name, but. And the reason is because it's free to schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So the teacher wanted Mosaic, but because Mosaic costs money, they wouldn't.
I think that's more wrong stuff.
You want another story? They sent me to Vegas this last year to look at software packages because we have Cabinet Vision. Cabinet Vision was Cabinet Vision. Then they sold to Vero. Then they sold, in sequence, 5 different companies. Now Hexagon owns them. Every time they've sold, each parent company alters it. Hexagon went in and brutalized it. all of your connections that you did the old-fashioned way were gone. So when I went from 11 to 21, it obliterated everything.
All the work you put into customizing.
Exactly. I was bent. And I'm like, I don't want to go back and rebuild this stupid thing. What they did made sense, but it didn't convert what I had into their program. So I went. And with the idea that I knew Mosaic was out there, and I can tell you stories about this, but I looked at KCD software, and I looked at Microvellum, and I looked at a whole bunch, okay? Ended up, I think Mosaic is the best. The reason is that guy that started Mosaic was one of the original 2 owners of Cabinet Vision. And he was there, and he said to me, there has not been one day since I signed the sale of that company that I haven't regretted that. I should have just bought it because the other guy wanted to retire and be done. I had the chance to buy it, and I didn't. And I wish I did. So he says, I worked for the new company. I got out. I did my non-compete time. But the day that non-compete ended, I started making Mosaic. And it is what Cabinet Vision was supposed to be. Simple and easy. So I come back and I say, I want to convert to Mosaic. Nope. Why did you send me to Vegas then? What an awful city. Don't send me there and tell me no. Spent 3 days there going through all of these places.
Well, I requested to be sent to Atlanta. We'll see if we do.
Yeah, that would be fun too. I've never been to Atlanta yet, but yeah, I'm going to buy a computer and I'm going to get Mosaic and I'm going to do my own stuff on Mosaic. If you had to make a choice, Cabinet Vision's good. It's a lot of work to get set up, and if you don't have CNC you're shooting to, and you just want to design, there are cheaper programs that can do the design. Thermwood is one that you can download for free and just design with it. Thermwood.
Thermwood has their CNC, you can just stand there and punch in what cabinet you want.
That's why they have free software, but it only puts out to their machine. But you can design on it all day long. So anyway, that's my answers on that. You got to kind of do your research, but if they won't fund Mosaic, which is cheaper than Cabinet Vision,
The one they did was Cabinet Solutions, which they get free to school.
yeah. Anyway, any other questions you guys have for me?
Thank you, Chad.
Did you learn? You all had a worth time being here? You haven't smiled much, but I hope I can answer your questions. If you like any of the equipment and you want to propose to your people, send me a note first, and I can definitely explain why we got what we got and because of this and that. And if they're going to teach cabinet making, they need to have this for this reason. That one there. That one there we got because it can do not only face frames, but it also has the horizontal clamps to put your doors on. So you can clamp those square. It was expensive. It was a $10,000 table where you can get 2 that does each for less. We didn't have the room for 2, and we don't need the 2 because we're not mass producing. But every door shop you ever go to, well, you'll see one with the clamps in it. That's how they glue those panels up square. They have a bunch of them, but they're just for that. We needed it for both, so we have the overarm going on to hold the frames down. So we spent a little more money, but just bought one machine and works out pretty good. You've all got my email because I've been sending you messages. You're going to get your training checked off. You agree? You agree?
That's right.
Okay. And don't be afraid of me. I'm here to help you guys. And like I said, my hat's off to you. What you guys do, I won't. I will go make more money in industry and have a 9-to-5 job or whatever. But you guys are stallions to do what you do and be in the muck of what you do. I think what you said made me smile. I'm glad I'm not you. People want to come in and take your time after school. And my wife is this. 5:20 comes, she's on the phone. Are you coming? I'm barely got done with class, lady.
Gotta turn the lights out.
Yeah, so Anyway, you guys are awesome. Keep up the good work.